Okay, well, I think we got everybody here, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody, to the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Vallecitos Water District on Wednesday, August 4th, 2021 at 5 p.m. via video conference. I'll read a quick notice to the public. Due to the evolving situation with the COVID-19 novel coronavirus, so long as state or local public officials have imposed or recommended social distancing measures, Vallecitos Water District will hold future meetings via teleconferencing and allow members of the public to observe and address the meeting telephonically or otherwise electronically. During this period of time, Vallecitos Water District will not be making any physical location available for members of the public to observe the meeting and offer public comment. The public is encouraged to watch and participate in the meeting from the safety of their homes. The meeting can be viewed on the agenda page located on the main page of the district's website. Public comments or questions can be submitted to the following email address: publiccomment@vwd.org. All written comments that are received at least 90 minutes before the meeting will be provided to the board, and a record of the receipt of comment will be noted during the meeting. Members of the public viewing the meeting via the Zoom video conferencing platform can express their desire to provide input at the appropriate time by utilizing the raised hand function. Additional instructions for online participation will be posted on the district's website at www.vwd.org/meetings. Again, welcome everybody. General Manager Pruitt, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will. And Patrick, if you can bring up the flag, please. Right, ready, begin.
I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
Welcome.
We will go ahead and conduct a roll call.
Here.
Director Hernandez.
Here.
Director Pinnock.
Here.
Director Boyd Hodgson.
Here.
And I am here as well. We got the whole team together. I will entertain a motion at this time to adopt tonight's agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Director Hernandez. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Director Eltharp. We have a motion and a second to adopt tonight's agenda. We'll go ahead and conduct a roll call vote. Director Boyd Hodgson.
Yes.
Director Pinnock.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Yes.
Director Eltharp.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. Go on to public comment. Glenn, have we received any written correspondence prior to the meeting, or are there any members of the community in the audience who would wish to speak at this time?
No, as of 3:30, we had not received any public comments written, and there does not look like any of the attendees are expressing a desire to speak at this time.
Okay, and just a reminder that if there is anybody that's joining us who would like to speak, just simply raise your hand, and we'll try to recognize you as quickly as possible and give you an opportunity. So moving right along. Okay, General Manager Pruitt, we have a special presentation tonight. I'll go ahead and allow you to give some background on that, please.
Yeah, thank you, President Sinella. So one of the many regulations that Vallecitos deals with is stormwater rules enacted by the state and regional water boards. And the regulations were put in place to ensure that water bodies are not adversely impacted due to contaminants carried by stormwater runoff. And although the district is not responsible for operating a public storm drain system like a city might be, we are subject to the stormwater regulations due to some of our operations and our capital projects. Certain projects are required to prepare stormwater pollution prevention plans, known as SWIPs, prior to beginning work. And these plans typically need to be prepared and overseen by qualified professionals. Recently, our capital facilities senior engineer, Ryan Morgan, received his certificates of training from the California Stormwater Quality Association, known as CASQA, and the California Construction General Permit Training Team in two important areas: So Ryan is now a qualified SWIP developer, and he is also a qualified SWIP practitioner. So, and with these certifications, Ryan will be able to help the district prepare necessary stormwater approvals and prepare and receive necessary stormwater approvals for eligible projects quicker and at a lower cost than relying on outside consultants. So I want to congratulate Ryan for his commitment in this particular area and for his continued professional development. So great job, Ryan. And I'll turn it back over to you, President Sinella.
Well, thank you. And I guess I'll echo your comments as well, Glenn, that Ryan, I can just speak for myself that ever since you joined the district, I've been nothing but impressed. The way you present to us, the way your constant professionalism, and I really do appreciate, as Glenn mentioned, your commitment towards your professional development and how that will both benefit you personally, but also all of our ratepayers into the future. So thank you so much. And with that, I'll open it up for all of my colleagues who may want to pile on.
All right.
Oh,
Ryan, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah. I just want to say thank you, President Sinella and General Manager Prom. It's a great honor. Thank you for acknowledging me, and thank you to Vallecitos for giving me the opportunity to expand my professional development here. Thank you.
Yeah, Ryan, don't escape yet. My colleagues are being very respectful and they're raising their hands, so I'm going to go ahead and call them individually. Director Boyd Hodgson.
Thank you. Congratulations, Ryan. What an accomplishment. It really is an asset to our team. And I hope that moving forward, we can start incorporating more stormwater discussions and infrastructure into our projects and rely on your expertise. Congratulations and thanks.
Thank you.
And Director Vallecitos.
Yeah, I wanted to congratulate you also, Ryan, and echo the comments from President Snella and Director Boyd Hodgson. It's great to have that function in-house, and I think it'll improve efficiency greatly. So in what President Snella said, you show great professionalism in what you bring to the board and your presentations and the way you manage projects. So congratulations and thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Great. And on my screen, I don't necessarily get everybody on there at the same time. So I think I saw your hand, Director Hernandez.
Yes, Ryan, very good job. Congratulations. Having been involved in that on the private sector, I know that wasn't just a walk in the park. So keep up the good work. Look forward to your continual professional development to enhance our district and yourself.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. And did we lose Director Pennick?
Nope, still here.
He's here.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I just echo all the comments already given. Thank you, Ryan, for all you're doing, and yeah, look forward to working with you.
Thank you, everybody. It's much appreciated.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, moving right along. We'll go on to and just to double check. Do we have any speakers that might have missed the public comment period? I thought I heard something.
No, sir.
Again, but,
Yeah,
okay.
no raised hands.
Cool. Okay, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar will be voted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or member of the public requests that a particular item be removed from the consent calendar, in which case it will be considered separately under action items. I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent calendar, please. I'll move to approve the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion or any items that need to be pulled? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent calendar. Director Pennick.
Yes.
Director Hernandez.
Yes.
Director Boyd Hodgson.
Yes.
Director Ellithart.
Yes.
And I vote yes. I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. We catch up to our agenda. That takes us to the action items tonight, and we'll kick off with item 2.1, award of a professional services agreement. Glenn,
Yeah.
is that you?
Yeah, I'll start it off, then I'll hand it off to staff. So one of the district's largest controllable costs is the electricity that we consume. And we're always looking for ways to reduce or control this portion of our operating budget. The energy production and pricing market is changing all the time, and staff felt it was the proper time to update our energy management plan. And our newly minted stormwater professional, Ryan Morgan, will walk the board through this item. So Ryan, take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, General Manager Prum. Good evening, President Sanella and directors of the board. For the award of the professional services agreement for the district energy management study, to begin with some background, in 2012, district performed an energy management study for approximately 15 district facilities. The study included energy audits that were funded by local government partnership programs consisting of SDG&E and San Diego County Water Authority. The study utilized the results of the energy audits and the energy conservation measures identified during the audits to create a strategic energy plan that was used to forecast energy use and cost for each facility. Since 2013, when the report was issued, there have been many changes to the district's energy use and cost profiles. Some of these changes include new rate structures, new rate schedules from SDG&E with higher demand charges, implementation of energy efficiency measures such as installing variable frequency drives on pumps and replacing halogen light bulbs with LED light bulbs, changes to water storage pumping during off-peak time periods, process improvements at Meadowlark Water Reclamation Facility to reduce electrical demands, and the addition of new renewable energy infrastructure, including most recently the district-wide solar power purchase agreement, which installed over 2 megawatts of photovoltaic solar on-site generation, and the proposed future implementation of Tesla battery energy storage systems at up to 6 district sites. Due to these specific changes over the past decade, the legacy energy management study is now obsolete. In an effort to utilize districts' new and proposed renewable energy resources and operating strategies within SDG&E's current and future rate structure, staff recommends performing a new energy management plan in the second half of 2021 that will benefit Vallecitos customers by providing the greatest amount of energy for the least amount of money. In May of 2021, the district submitted a request for proposals to Terra Verde Renewable Partners. The invitation process was streamlined to the district's existing renewable energy consultant, who provided professional services during the district-wide solar project's planning, design, and construction phases of work. Terra Verde are industry experts with significant district experience, providing analytical evaluation, knowledge of SDG&E rate tariffs, solar, photovoltaic, and energy storage. Terra Verde has access to data already relevant to historic district energy usage, production, and SDG&E rate structures. On June 8th, staff met with Terra Verde to discuss the proposal and district expectations for the energy management study. On July 15th, staff received Terra Verde's draft proposal and contacted the firms listed as references, evaluated prior similar projects, how well they addressed the proposal requirements, and their overall approach to the project, including their fee and schedule. On July 27th, staff met with Terra Verde to discuss their proposed scope of services. A few adjustments were made to the proposed services, and Terra Verde Renewable Partners will be providing the scope of work outlined on page 44 and 45 of the board packet. I'm not going to go into all that detail here just now. Terra Verde Renewable Partners was selected as the qualified consultant for the energy management study due to their extensive knowledge of the district gained through the district-wide solar project. There was cost savings there with their prior experience and knowledge of the district. The scope of services and fee were revised and finalized for a not to exceed amount of $64,135. The energy management study project is identified in the district's fiscal year 21-22 budget. The total project budget is $230,000. This budget amount was established based on industry standards of any consultant who's not familiar with district facilities coming in and proposing on the work. Funding for the project will come 51% from water replacement funds and 49% from sewer replacement funds. And the fiscal impact is identified on page 45 of the board packet. The consulting, planning and design phase services from Terra Verde identified at $64,135. And staff services in total, the total anticipated budget expenditures are $225,135, which would leave a budget surplus of estimated $4,865. And it's with this that staff recommends that the board of directors authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Terra Verde Renewable Partners in the amount of $64,135, which is subject to the terms and conditions of the agreement. And if there are any questions, I can answer those at this time.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And just a quick comment. First off, thanks for your comprehensive report, but also your efforts on this. I'm excited and also proud that our district is pursuing these renewable options and expanding our renewable footprint. And I'm glad to be part of it. And I appreciate everybody's efforts who have been working on it. With that, any questions or comments from my colleagues? See if make sure I don't miss anybody. Do you see any hands up, Glenn? I don't see any hands up, but I don't. Okay, here's one. Director Boyd Hodgson.
Thank you. So just for my own knowledge, because I'm a new board member, the last study was done in 2012, and there was a strategic energy plan developed from that. Were those plans implemented?
Many of the recommendations were implemented, and that's speaking of changing out halogen bulbs to LEDs and implementing variable frequency drives on pumps, changing times of pumping operations to off-peak hours. Those types of recommendations were in that original study, and staff had in the last decade has implemented those. So many of those recommendations have already been enacted, and so we're kind of moving into the next phase, so to speak, of the energy management study, not only utilizing what was done in the past, but the infrastructure for renewable resources that we have now today.
Will this study that we're talking about now, will it be able to compare usage now versus then? Is that part of the scope?
The rate structures from SDG&E have changed significantly in the last 8 to 10 years. So it's kind of a little bit comparing apples to oranges. When you look back in time, it's really going to look forward in time to how SDG&E's rate structures will change, what they are today and how they will change going forward in the future, and how we adapt to that.
Okay, thank you.
If I may just add a little bit, the previous study implemented all the physical changes, operational changes, but back in 2012, 2013, your peak time was 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. when businesses were running. Now, because of all the renewable energy in Southern California, what they call the duck curve with the solar production, your peak time is now shifted, and the SDG&E rate structure is now shifted to that during that peak period when all that sun energy is being produced back into the grid. That's cheaper energy now. So a lot of the large recommendations of how to manage the SDG&E rates no longer apply from the old study. And of course, as Ryan mentioned, we also didn't have all that renewable portfolio that we have now.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Any other questions, comments? Director Elgar.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, normally I'd like to see multiple proposals from different consulting firms, but I think in this case, Terra Verde is uniquely positioned to help the district with with existing knowledge that they've gained in the course of some of the projects that they've helped us implement. And also, I've been very pleased with their performance in past projects. So I think for efficiency sake, I think it's a good thing to go ahead and accept this proposal for Terra Verde. Thanks.
Okay, great. Any other comments, questions? Is there a motion? No, good.
I'll move
Once.
approval.
Thank you. I got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I think I heard Director Boyd Hodgson first. So we have a motion to approve staff's recommendation on item 2.1 by Director Eltharp and a second by Director Boyd Hodgson. And we'll go ahead and conduct a roll call vote. Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Pinnock,
Yes.
Director Eltharp,
Yes.
Director Boyd Hodgson,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Item 2.2, the debt issuance documents and resolution. Well, want to kick us off, Glenn? Glenn?
Sorry, I was muted there. Apologize. Thank you, President Sinella. So this item is the latest in our steps towards issuing debt to allow the reimbursement of previously incurred project costs, along with providing funding for upcoming capital projects. And we're really close to the finish line here. So Wes Owen and Laura Carpenter from Fieldman Rolap will be presenting on this item. So I'll turn it over to Wes, and I don't know, but he'll turn it over to Laura when he's ready.
Thank you, Glenn. Good evening, President Snell, members of the board. As you know, in April during the budget process, staff was looking at the possibility of issuing debt. And then in May, the board authorized staff to move forward with looking into that debt issuance. Over the last 5 months, we've assembled an excellent team of municipal advisors, bond and disclosure counsel, and underwriters to complete the process. And this meeting is the last board meeting and the last board action to complete the debt issuance. And the team that I mentioned is here actually to give the board more information and details on how we're going to go about it and the documents required to complete the debt issuance process. One thing I did want to mention is during the process, I think I talked about it at the last meeting, we had rating presentations and an area of pride for the district and staff. Those rating presentations went very well, and Fitch and Standard & Poor's both reaffirmed the district at a AA+ rating, and Fitch actually revised their rating from stable to positive for the district. So excellent job by the district and staff, and something we're very proud of. And it will help with the debt issuance. And with that, I will turn it over to Laura Carpenter and the rest of the team.
Great, thank you very much, Wes. I appreciate those introductions. As Wes and Glenn indicated, what we will be doing, so I believe my share screen is supposed to show the other screen. One sec, please. Okay. What we have here today is updates to the board on not only what has occurred, as was indicated since our last review, but also the steps the board will be taking this evening to put into effect and to approve the legal documentations and the disclosure document that we have here before the board. As was indicated, this will be the last board action item that will result in proceeding with pricing next week and closing the following week. At closing, the district will be receiving the funds needed for its capital improvement program, as well as for the reimbursement costs, which we'll get into in a later slide. But over the past few months, we've been corresponding with the board to get them up to date on the debt opportunity. We received authorization to proceed on May 6th and have gone back to the board as at the latest as July 21st to provide an update of the actions that have been taken and the steps that the financing team has conducted since May. As was indicated, we did go to both rating agencies. We had a long call with Fitch and S&P on the 21st. Those efforts were well received, and we did affirm those ratings as well as revise the outlook for Fitch from stable to positive. What that means is within the period of about 2 or 3 years, the next time the district is reviewed by Fitch, there's a high likelihood of a potential upgrade from AA+ to AAA. So it's on the right track. It's a good trajectory. And I wanted to put some of the emphasis of the work conducted by staff to get the district in this position. It's a very exciting result, and we look forward to the next steps in the following years for that final result going forward. What we have before the board today is a set of multiple legal documentations and authorizing resolutions for both the district board and the financing corporation. I will have somebody from Stradling, Yacob, Carlson, and Routh go over those legal documents in coming slides that will discuss exactly what the board will be approving. One of those documents is the disclosure document that is called the preliminary official statement. It is labeled preliminary because it has not conducted a full pricing or has not gone through the pricing with investors as of yet. It's preliminary because there are some blinks, as you'll see in the draft before you today, but it is substantially final, and you are authorizing staff to make any further edits and changes needed. The document will not become final until the investors have purchased those certificates next week, and we have a final pricing schedule. Once those are implemented into the document, it will then be posted as a final document. But the underwriter will be using this POS that you have before you at the board meeting to market the bonds over the next week or so. What we have identified here is an overview of the funds that will be received by the district in the amount of about $28 million. A portion of that will be going towards new capital spending needs in the amount of about $11.8 million. The other $16 million will be received by the district to reimburse prior incurred costs for those capital projects shown here on this slide. And those reimbursed funds will go to fund the capacity fee reserve of the district based off those capital projects that were previously spent. What I wanted to go over on this slide is the depiction of the district's parity debt service schedule. What we show on the top portion of this slide is the debt service payments due and payable by the district for only the debts that is on parity to 2021 COPs. That would be the 2012A loan that matures in 2023 and the 2015 bond series that matures in 2036. What we do not show here on this slide is the outstanding 2008 UBOC loan, and that is because it is a subordinate loan, and on the cash flow basis, it is paid after these debt service obligations by the district. What you will see on the blue charts showing the estimated 2021A COPs is that we are pushing some of the debt service payments out to start in fiscal year 2032. What this allows us to do, and it's called a quote unquote wrap structure, but it allows us to levelize the payments of the district starting in fiscal year 2024. The jump you see in 2023 for the debt service is due to the structure we're providing on the debt service, which is the first payment won't be due until August 1st, 2022, which is the start of the fiscal year 2023, allowing the district to have the funds necessary to make those first debt service payments. The bottom part of this slide is the financing statistics, gives you a general overview of the financing amounts and the total debt service costs. So in order to fund about $28 million of proceeds or capital funding needs, it results in about a total debt service cost of $39.2 million based off market conditions as of late July. That is about a maximum annual debt service of 2.6 or an average of about 1.3. And the difference between those two numbers is purely based off the structure that you see highlighted in the blue bars. There's lower debt service in the front, slightly larger debt service between fiscal year 32 and 36, and then you see a drop off again in 2037 to complete the 30-year amortization of the 2021 COPs. We're looking at a 30-year interest rate or a true interest cost of about 2.34%. That incorporates all of the pricing, coupons, and yields. And then when you add in the overall total cost to issue the bonds, what we classify as the all-in true interest cost, or the total borrowing cost, is that 2.39%, shown here on the screen. You may be asking what the difference is between funding about $28 million and what we show here on the second line of total par amount, also known as the principal of the debt of $21.9 million. How can we issue a lower par amount but still provide enough funding to meet the financing amount needs? Well, we wanted to explain that here on the next slide. And what we are looking to be able to complete on pricing is to issue what is called a premium amount. Top right-hand corner of this screen shows the estimated sources and uses of the COP. To go into first and foremost the uses of what the district will be financing is to provide funds for $28 million of projects and prior reimbursements, as well as about $285,000 of financing costs. So in order to fund about $28.3 million of issuance cost needs, the first two line items are what is being provided to fund those uses. We have $21.9 million of par, and the second line item is what we want to draw the board's attention to. It's called a premium amount, or $6.3 million of additional funds that investors will be paying to the district in order to receive a scale that provides a lower yield to each maturity for what the investors are looking for. In other words, investors these days are willing to give the district additional bond money on top of 100% of what is due and payable. To provide a little more clarity on what that means, so if you could draw your attention to the first line on the bottom chart, August 1st, 2031 is one of the first maturities of principal repaid the district will be potentially offering to the investors. You'll see the first column is the principal amount for that maturity. You'll see the next two columns represents the coupon and the yield for that individual maturities, and then what is labeled as the price. The price allows the opportunity to actually receive additional funds from investors. In other words, in this example, you will receive 39% of funds for that one August 1st, 2031 maturity, resulting in additional funds of $659,000. What this all is to say is, based off current market conditions and current pricing, the district is able to receive additional money from investors based off having a lower yield than the coupon rate that is being purchased and paid back by the district. Overall, lower par amount does reduce the total debt service, and we do think that this scale will provide great benefit to the district in the long run. As I noted, it is estimated to be a 2.39% all-in TIC, which is a very attractive rate for a 30-year debt service. With that, I did want to pass the mic over to Dan Kurz at Morgan Stanley to go over some of the market details that has been occurring and maybe what to expect in next week's pricing. And then following that, we'll be passing it off to Stradling to discuss the legal documents the board is approving, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions thereafter.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Great. Thank you, Laura, and good evening, President Snella and members of the board. I'm Dan Kurz from Morgan Stanley, and we're serving as the underwriter on the transaction. As Laura mentioned, I wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about market conditions currently. The bottom line is the district has very good timing coming to market right now. It's a very strong bond market for municipal issuers, and particularly for issuers from essential service utilities with really strong credit ratings. So you find yourself in a very good position as we head into the sale next week. What do I mean when I say it's a strong bond market? The first thing that I mean is that interest rates are really low, so your borrowing cost will be low. On this slide here in the graph, we illustrate two benchmark rates that we follow in the market. The first is a 30-year US Treasury. That's the that's the lighter blue line, and that's the rate on a taxable bond. In the municipal market, we're more focused on tax exempt rates, and those are represented by what we call MMD, which stands for Municipal Market Data. And that is the benchmark rate that serves as a proxy for a AAA rated GO bond. And so that is the rate that we follow. And an issuer like yourself, your bonds will price with what we call a credit spread to that rate. And the stronger your credit is, the lower that spread. And so in the district's case, your bonds should more or less price right on top of the benchmark rate. And what you can see in this graph, which shows the past 5 years, is that despite some volatility, especially the spike you can see around when COVID first hit, that rates are near their all-time lows. 30-year rate right now is 1.36%, which is just 9 basis points above the low that we reached about a year ago. So very favorable interest rate environment, which means a low cost of funds. And then Laura, if you want to turn to the next slide, the other thing we mean by a strong bond market is that investor demand is extremely strong, particularly relative to supply. So the top graph shows weekly supply in the municipal bond market, typically averages around $5 to $7 billion of bonds per week. That is what we consider moderate, and that's kind of what we've seen so far in 2021. The bottom graph there represents inflows into municipal bond funds. So that is investors who are putting their money into bond funds to buy municipal bonds. And the green bars represent inflows. And so you can see, the red bars we had around COVID were strong outflows, but since then the money has come flooding back into the bond market. And so we have a lot of investors out there who want to buy bonds, and that, helps to drive the interest rates to their, near historical lows. So, that's why I say bottom line, it's a great market. We've got strong demand and we've got low rates. And so we have, expectations of a very successful sale next week. I'm happy to answer questions, or perhaps we want to wait till after the presentation, but the next few slides were for your bond counsel to talk about the legal documents.
Yep. I don't see any hands up yet, so let's go ahead and continue, and then I'm sure there'll be some questions at the end.
Good evening. My name is Doug Brown. I'm a shareholder with Stradling Yoka, who's your bond and disclosure counsel on this transaction. As people have indicated, you're being asked tonight to pass a resolution as the district board of directors, as well as a resolution as your financing corporation resolution. The financing corporation will meet a little later this evening. The action before you right now is the district resolution. And by approving this one resolution, you are authorizing your staff and your board president to sign a variety of documents, all of which will be necessary in order to close the transaction later this month. So the documents that are attached to the resolution in which you're being asked to authorize in substantial form are the following. The trust agreement, you'll notice that's a pretty long document, but it's merely a set of, in effect, escrow instructions. It tells the bond trustee to accept your payments every 6 months, tells them to hold those payments, how to invest those payments, and then directs the trustee to send that money out to the certificate holders when the interest and principal payment dates are due. The second document is the third supplemental installment purchase contract. Think of that document as sort of a loan agreement. It's the document pursuant to which the district is making payments. That document also includes the financial covenants that you will be agreeing to during the term of the debt. Now, I think on one of your previous meetings, we talked about the fact that you all had entered into a master contract many years ago that has financial covenants in it. The market has changed significantly, and entities like yourselves with very high credit ratings can now issue debt at favorable interest rates, but with more favorable financial covenants. So the third supplemental installment purchase contract includes some amendments that will become effective in the future that actually are provide you greater flexibility in terms of the financial covenants, in terms of rate setting, your ability to issue debt in the future if the board directs staff to do so, et cetera. The next document you're being asked to approve is the purchase contract with Morgan Stanley. Think of that like signing a purchase contract on a house. When the deal prices next week, your staff will sign that purchase contract that locks in the interest rate and the principal amount. And then about a week or 10 days later, the transaction will close. So this purchase contract both locks in the interest rate, but it also just governs that 7 or 10 day period. It directs the lawyers to finalize the documents, deliver opinions and the like. So that's the purpose for the purchase contract. The next document is the preliminary official statement. Laura touched on this briefly, and we had the opportunity to talk to you previously about this as well. Your staff did distribute an earlier version to you at your last board meeting, but the preliminary official statement serves two purposes. It's a marketing document. As Laura indicated, Morgan Stanley will be using this document to offer these to potential investors over the next week or so. So it describes the certificates, the 30-year maturity, prepayment provisions and the like. But it's also a federal securities law disclosure document. And the district is obligated to provide all material information to investors. So we have worked with your staff over the last several months to prepare this document. It's gone through a lot of reviews internally. It's been provided to the rating agencies. It's been provided to Morgan Stanley for their review and comment. And so the draft before you tonight is in substantially final form. The changes since the draft you received at the last board meeting have been very minimal. And the only changes from the version in your agenda package to what will be given to investors is to insert the ratings, which we received earlier this week, and also just some cleanup comments. So the document before you, while we call it substantially final, is really very close to final. As Laura indicated before, you're not only authorizing this preliminary official statement, but after the certificate's price next week, this preliminary official statement will be turned into the final official statement. And really the expectation is the only thing that will change is we will insert the actual terms of the debt which is sold. So the actual principal amounts and the actual interest rates. Other than that, there's no expectation that there would be any other changes. And then finally, you're being asked to approve the continuing disclosure agreement. The federal securities laws require public agencies who issue debt in the public credit markets to provide annual updated information. In your case, it will be your audit, and then you'll update certain information about water sales, water supplies, and the like. The district is already subject to a continuing disclosure agreement as a result of the deal that the financing you did in 2015, but the law does require you to enter into one of these disclosure agreements each time you issue debt. So if you go on to the next slide. So actually that is the documents that you're going to be asked to approve as the district. After the district acts, you'll be asked to approve a resolution as you sit as the financing corporation, the Vallecitos Water District Financing Corporation. It approves mostly the same documents because the financing corporation is entering into those same documents. So trust agreement, third supplemental installment purchase agreement, the purchase contract are all being approved again. The one document that is different is the financing corporation is going to sign an assignment agreement with the bond trustee. And this is to facilitate payments. This assignment agreement is going to allow the district to make payments directly to the bond trustee rather than paying them to the financing corporation and then having the financing corporation pay them to the trustee. So it's just, it's a very short agreement, 2 pages long, that just facilitates more direct payment of all these costs. So with that, happy to answer any questions with respect to the district resolution or the financing corporation resolution.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for the comprehensive presentations and a great deal of information. I'll go ahead and open it up to my colleagues for any questions that they may have. Just scroll through anybody who's not on my screen. Director Boyd Hodgson.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation, for all of the work that's gone into preparing these documents and ensuring that we are following the process. Mr. Brown, you said that there are a couple of things that may change between the mostly final version that we have now and in a couple of days when the close of the sale, and it's the terms and the principal. Those seem to be pretty elemental and important things that could change. And so I would like to know just kind of a a guesstimate of what kind of variability we're talking about with those items.
Yeah, in the absence of a significant change in interest rates, I think the numbers that Laura Carpenter presented tonight are probably going to be very, very close to the final numbers. And you're delegating to staff the authority to complete this transaction within certain parameters. If interest rates were to change dramatically and you are outside that delegation, staff would have to come back to you for further approval. But as long as they stay relative, as long as interest rates stay about where they are right now, there would not be a need to come back to the board.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I'm not seeing any hands, so let me just scroll through here. If there's no other questions or discussion, and I know we've been, as a board, been discussing this item for months, so I'm not surprised that we have all of our answers or all of our questions answered already. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution for the 2021 certificates of participation, execution, and delivery, and authorize staff to execute the necessary contracts and agreements for the financing. Oh, well, hold on one second. Director Elthart.
Yeah, I'd be happy to make that motion to move staff's recommendation.
Oh, okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on item 2.2 to move staff's recommendation by Director Elthart and a second by Director Boyd Hodgson. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and conduct a roll call vote. Director Elthart,
Yes.
Director Boyd Hodgson,
Yes.
Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Pennick,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you again for all the presentations and all the hard work that was put towards this. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
All right. It's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Okay, but moving on right along to item 2.3, a consideration of the formation of a City of San Marcos Liaison Committee. I'll let you want to give some background first, Glenn, or?
Yeah, just real briefly. So at the May 19th board meeting, Director Boyd Hodgson did request that an item be placed on a future board agenda to discuss the formation of a liaison committee with the City of San Marcos. And that's why the item is on tonight's agenda. I have discussed this topic with City Manager Jack Griffin to let him know that it's going to be on tonight's agenda. The City Council, as far as I know, has not been informed of this item, and they have not considered or taken any action on this topic at this time. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Boyd Hodgson.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is an idea that I had back in May before the formation of the General Plan Advisory Committee. And the point of it was to enable the folks that are in charge of governance of our city to forge a partnership and a communication avenue and make that official. So, there are things that could be discussed. I mean, and provided when you establish a committee, you have to have things to talk about. So it may not be the case that this committee meets often. It could be a couple of times a year. This is something that I had just been kicking around with some folks on the council, but it, of course, has not been raised in an official capacity. So I'm raising it tonight as official capacity to see what folks think about it. Some of the things that could be talked about, for example, the South Lake lease. That's something that has been ongoing between the city and the district. It's helpful when bodies of governance who have the same constituent base can come together and talk and just really sort of better understand each other, better understand priorities, share visions, and move the city and the water district and the bodies of governance forward. So that was the impetus for this. And so I'd just like to open it up and see what folks think about that.
Great. Thank you, Director Boyd Hodgson. Any any questions or comments or discussion? Director Hernandez.
Yes, it's interesting because I have brought this up to the general manager in our monthly meetings. We have had at least one joint session meeting in the past. And when I brought it up, General Manager Prum talked with the general manager, and the outcome was, well, what do we got to talk about? I think it is a good idea just to see if we can't get together, both the full city council and the board, to see if there is some identified items to talk about. I don't think it was well received by the general manager of the city, but maybe Director Boyd Hodgson had a better feeling from talking to the city council members. So I'm in favor of that. I can tell you, however, that there was an ongoing group that was meeting with the planning director, the building director, the engineering director, some longtime developers and real estate folks. I was part of that as an architect, and we had some good meetings, and then it just ran out of gas. The city wasn't available. Things that we wanted to do didn't seem to get done. So I think we need a clear understanding of what we want to talk about so that we can keep this alive, or as was said, maybe it's just a once a year meeting.
Okay, thank you, Director Hernandez. Director Althorpe, did I see your hand go up earlier?
Yeah, it was. And Director Hernandez said most of what I was going to say, but I just wanted to say I think it's a great idea. And I just wish the city would have more desire to have engagement. It seems like they just don't want to talk unless there's something specific to talk about. And in the last 7 years I've been on the board, we've maybe engaged twice on issues, and it just seems we could have a better relationship. And I think Director Boyd Hodgson may be the one that has the energy to kickstart that a little bit. So I'm all in favor of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we want to be mindful of everybody's time, right? And I know that the members of the city council and certainly city staff, they're busy, and they're working through some challenges, unprecedented challenges with COVID, just as we are. But you really can't over communicate when you're in a community like ours. And before COVID, I was having casual conversations and monthly meetings with the mayor and one of the San Marcos Unified School Board members on a regular basis. Very casual. We probably talked more about our kind of families and what was kind of going on in our world, more than we talked about school or city or water business. But mixed into those conversations, every time we met for coffee, there would be a little bit of kind of sharing of information and kind of what is the city up to and what is the water district up to, and I would always glean just a little piece of valuable information, and I hope that they did too, and it kind of helped keep us all kind of looped in. And I had mentioned it earlier when we were talking about one of the items in our closed session, but at one time, I don't know, a year and a half ago, that the school district was looking at one of our properties that the water district owned, and they were interested in it as a possible school site. And so that kind of, there was a good reason to talk, right? And to say, obviously you couldn't go into, negotiations and details, but, we were able to kind of keep that collaboration going, and there was a mutual interest. So, I like it. What it looks like, if they're interested, I don't know. Perhaps a good next step, if Director Boyd Hodgson is agreeable, is we task Glenn with engaging the city manager and potentially others and throwing it out there. And if there is an interest on their side, maybe we bring it back and have a little bit more discussion about, exactly who and what and when and all those types of things.
I think it's worth a shot. I mean, I think that this has existed in sort of informal ways. And what I'm hearing is that it's always been valuable to have the back and forth. And, like I said, we all serve a limited number of people in our district, and we're invested in hearing what's going on with the other agencies, whether it's school board or whether it's the city. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I appreciate everyone's feedback, and maybe we can get something going.
Okay. So Glenn, it sounds, Director Pinnick, I saw you popped up. Did you want to chime in?
I do want to chime in. I know I've been pretty quiet because I'm in a beautiful place here. No, I agree, but just a cause for concern. I mean, I don't know if there is a lack of communication. It seems like if we want to communicate, we'll communicate and do that. I just, from their point of view, I can guess a cause for concern would be politics. I mean, communication is important, but they might be concerned about some politicking going on, and sometimes politics gets in the way of communication. Doesn't enhance it, but it confuses it. So yeah, I agree. It would be great to maybe form an ad hoc committee or a committee to keep an ongoing open dialogue. If that's not already happening, to me, it seems like it's already happening. If we want to talk to the city about something, talk to them. If they want to talk to us, we have open communication. But if there is committees formed and all of a sudden now there's politicking going on, sometimes that could actually cause more harm than good with communication. So totally for it, but this just a little cause for concern.
Okay. Thank you, Director Pinnick. So I think a good next step, Glenn, is reach out and gauge their interest and see what they think about all of this. And then let's, once you have that information, if you can come back and report back to us, hopefully in the next, maybe 30 days or so. I think that's reasonable. And then we can kind of further evaluate at that time based on their response.
Okay, I can do that.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Cool. I see some thumbs ups. Cool. Okay, great. Well, I think we got some direction for staff on that, so I don't think we need to vote. And that ends our action items this evening. And so we'll move on to reports, and we'll kick it off with the general manager.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion, President Sinella? So we do have to convene the Finance Corporation, and we do have the same team kind of waiting in the wings. Would it be possible to temporarily adjourn the board meeting, convene the Finance Corporation, finalize the actions that need to be taken, and then we can release the hounds? The finance team can then go, and then we can reconvene and finish the board meeting. Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's not going to impact anybody who's viewing from the outside or anything. It's not going to change anything with Zoom, right?
No, it won't. We'll stay one continuous meeting. So I guess I would say if somebody can make a motion to temporarily adjourn, and I'm looking at General Counsel Gilpin as far as how we actually implement this. So
yeah, you just need to adjourn this meeting into the Finance Authority meeting, and then you can take action on the agenda items on the Finance Authority, and then you'll adjourn that meeting and resume your regular board meeting.
Well, I would move to temporarily adjourn the regular board meeting.
And go into the Finance Corporation meeting?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Director Althart. We have a motion to adjourn and go into the Finance Corporation meeting by Director Hernandez, and a second by Director Althart. I'll conduct a roll call vote. Director Pinnick?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Boyd Hodgson?
Yes.
Director Althart?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. We are adjourned. And
all right, so are we back at the GM report? Is that where we're at, President Sinella?
yeah, let me just
Okay.
get caught up on my agendas and stuff. I'm doing things paperless tonight. Okay, GM report.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to pass along some good news. Some of it you've already heard. You heard about the two big financial ratings agencies, Standard & Poor's and Fitch, awarding us the AA+ ratings. Those are really awesome. It's the second highest rating an agency can receive, and it's really hard to get a AAA, but we're working for that, so that's good. In addition to those financial ratings, we recently were notified by the Special District Leadership Foundation that we have earned a District of Distinction silver level accreditation for our sound financial management policies and practices in district operations. And that's really important in conjunction with the high ratings of AA+. That's great. The Special District Leadership Foundation also awarded us with a District Transparency Certificate of Excellence, which recognizes outstanding efforts to promote transparency and good governance. So again, I think the whole team, the board members and staff should be really proud of those. And to me, it's really rewarding to have all of that hard work recognized by this external agency, which is dedicated to overseeing the operations of special districts. They don't have a dog in the fight in particular, but they look for the agencies that are kind of best in class, and they've recognized us as that. And along with what Wes said, I want to recognize the efforts of the finance team that we put together. Laura was great. I dealt with John and the others too, but and they did a great job keeping us on track. And I really want to say thanks to Wes. I mean, Wes took the laboring oar on the staff side of getting this to cross the finish line, and his efforts were really valuable. So thank you, Wes. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, President Sinella.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Mr. Gilpin.
Thank you, President Sinella. I just say that last year and a half has not been normal. It was good to see Wes with Juggy again. That kind of returned some normalcy. I just wanted to report on the redistricting effort that needs to be undertaken. The first results of the census were released in April, and we're still awaiting the full data, which is expected to be delivered in the next month or so. But it would be good for the board to start having discussions how you want to proceed with completing that redistricting. I know you've done it in the past through staff and others, but we have a deadline of April 17th of 2022 to get that completed. It will require a couple of public hearings, and just want to make sure we're progressing that way. That deadline could get pushed. I doubt it given the election timelines, but the delay in the census. So that's all I have to report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gilpin, for the update. And hey, Director Hernandez, were you on the board when they did it last? Because I don't think anybody else was.
Yes, I believe I was. Yeah, because they changed
Okay.
my district.
Okay. Yep. So, Mr. Pruitt, to Mr. Gilpin's point, you got 4 board members that I don't think have been through this at all, and 1 board member who's been through it quite a while ago. And so we'd like to have, maybe a couple of just orientation type sessions as to, at least an update from staff as to, what's involved, what does it look like, and what are the rules, and just bring us up to speed, please.
Okay, yeah, I wrote myself a note already to place an item on an upcoming board meeting, whether it may be the second meeting in August or the first meeting in September, just kind of bring everybody up to speed. And then when the data comes in, we'll have more frequent meetings as we progress with the redistricting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Director Altharp, any updates from the Water Authority?
Yeah, the Water Authority had the regular board meeting for on July 22nd. I wasn't able to attend, but I do have a summary of the board actions. I'll just real briefly, I'll touch on a couple of them. So out of closed session, the board authorized the general manager and/or the general counsel to sign a contract with Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, Schreck for $3.6 million for MWD litigation and MWD policy service area issues, QSA, Salton Sea, and Colorado River issues, which covers a whole lot of things. But and any related matters for a 2-year period. Also out of closed session, they authorized the general manager and or the general counsel to sign a contract with Kecker, Van Nest, and Peters for $2.7 million for all MWD rate litigation cases, legal services, and any other matters that may relate to those cases for a 2-year term. A couple other major items. The board authorized the general manager to award professional services contracts for $3 million each to 4 consulting firms for as needed construction management support services to support the capital improvement program CIP projects for the next 5 years. Also awarded $5 million to an additional consultant for as needed in-plant and construction management support services for the capital program over the next 5 years. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Director Althart. Any update, Director Hernandez, that you'd like to provide on Encina?
Just the one we're ongoing with regard to hiring a consultant to look for our new general manager. Mike Steinlich will be retiring in October, and we're going to be interviewing 2 of the firms on Monday to select the firm to go out and do a recruitment for the new general manager. Probably going to take 14 to 16 weeks. We will be elevating Scott McClellan to assistant, from assistant general manager to general manager as Mike leaves during that interim period. And we hope to have a new general manager sometime in February.
Great. And I don't have anything else to add for Encina wastewater. The policy and finance committee meets on Tuesday. And so we'll keep moving forward. Any standing committees have their meetings? The finance committee hasn't met.
No, the P3 committee also has not met. We're meeting next Tuesday instead, October the 9th, or sorry, Monday, the 9th.
Okay, thank you. I don't see, let me just scroll through and make sure I don't miss any hands, but I don't see anybody. If I ever miss anybody, don't be afraid to chime in.
I do have
yeah,
one more quick update. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to chime in. The engineering committee is also meeting this coming Monday.
Thank you. And Director Boyd-Hodgson?
Just one quick update on the GPAC meeting, the General Plan Advisory Committee. We did meet on the 29th, and it was the 4th meeting in the series. They had been on hiatus because of COVID, but they did meet on the 29th and went through kind of a recap of the purpose of the general plan, which is to define the long-term vision of the city over the next 10 to 20 years. It was an input session of what the collective values and goals were, and also to remind folks what the previous planning efforts have been and try to build on them. They did seek input for the assets that are considered within the city, as well as the challenges. And as I mentioned earlier, before we went into closed session, you know, one of the challenges that was not explicitly stated, there was a line item about sustainability and environmental. However, I think that there really needs to be an explicit statement about how we will conserve water, how we will preserve water, how we will capture water for the future. So that was the addition that I was able to provide, being a voice for water on that commission or committee rather.
Thank you, Director Boyd-Hodgson. Okay, any other directors' reports on meetings, conferences, or seminars attended? I have not attended anything since we last met. Anybody else have? I don't see any hands, and I don't hear anybody jumping in. So we'll move along. Item 4.1 in our board packets, there's the quarterly board expenses outlined there for your review. No action is required on that. If there's no discussion on it, I'll keep moving to 4.2. We have a water reuse California annual conference coming up on September 19th. And so it's, I guess it's optional, virtual or in person. So typically, I think if you're interested, reach out to Ann, and I think she'll help you with the registration on that. And then any director's comments, future agenda items? Any other things out there? I don't see anybody.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Director Hernandez.
it's
Missed
all right.
ya.
Regarding the engineering committee meeting that is scheduled for the 9th, I'm going to be out of town both the 9th and the 16th. I don't know if how much of an encumbrance it would be to move that to the 23rd, but if not, I won't be able to make the 9th or the 16th.
I can meet with staff and look into rescheduling.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Any other comments? Okay, everybody. Well, it was another great meeting. Thank you to everybody who presented tonight and helped kind of lead the way with a phenomenal meeting. And thank you to the public for joining us. And we'll go ahead and adjourn. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.